Mental Health Day. So in my head, I'm like, this is interesting. Okay. A few weeks later, same thing. Everyone's hanging out, making plans, another mental health day. And we're talking about big companies here. We're talking about, I have a lot of friends that work for Indeed, Google, Apple, and they are taking 3 or 4 mental health days throughout the month. Okay, I mean, I've never had a job where I was allowed to do that. I'm like the reporter during COVID, like,
yeah, you're on the
I have COVID, I'm sick,
yeah.
I'm still running to work, I'm sweating, I'm in breaking news, I'm getting eggs thrown at me, true stories, attacked, and I'm still going to work. So
yeah.
I can imagine calling my boss, like, I'm a little sad.
I'm sad.
I'm sad.
Yeah.
So I started noticing that. Then that was the smaller picture. Larger picture, I was like, this is interesting. Actually, my entire larger group of friends is also, they're all on SSRIs. They're all taking something every single day.
For pills for like depression and all
For depression, for anxiety, for boo-boos, for, I don't know, for the mental health, mental health.
I was sad.
And I was sad today. Then bigger picture than that, these friends of mine, I notice, a lot of these people that I've known for years, the entire time I've known them, we're talking like 15 years, they have been going to therapy. Okay. Abigail Schreier, I don't know if you're familiar with her work. She just wrote an incredible new book called Bad Therapy. Prompted me to kind of dive into this. So psychotherapy, productive, or is it paralyzing? So the current use of psychotherapy, this whole boom in the younger generation, Gen Z, millennials, to some extent the millennials, but Gen Z is a generation that's receiving more psychotherapy than any other generation in history. Wow. We're talking more psychotherapy, more diagnoses, more coddling, more pharmacological therapy, and they are the least happy generation across every single poll. 1 in 6 American children are diagnosed with a mental or developmental disorder before they reach the age of 8.
1 out of 6?
1 in 6.
Damn.
The American Psychological Association says that more than 20% of American teens identified they've had suicidal thoughts. Rapid growing number of young people are taking psychiatric drugs. I don't think that's a surprise to anyone. And yet they still report that their mental health is not okay. So what is happening? You would think you're getting all of this therapy, you're on all of these drugs. Why is the mental health of our youth not improving? What's going on? So a few things to look at. There's a recent study from the Thriving Center of Psychology that says 1 in 5 young adults are already in therapy. 1 in 4 are planning on staying in therapy forever. And 33%, I thought this was bizarre, consider their therapists their friends.
That's the last time. That's the last person you want your friend, because I don't ever want to be out and you see your psychiatrist and you're like, don't tell them shit. I don't want you to tell anybody, because at the end of the day, not to cut you off, Galen, I think a psychiatrist, a lot of the time, you're just spilling your beans to someone that doesn't know anybody that you know, so they don't tell anybody.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Should be the point.
That's what it is. Yes.
Right.
Please, yeah.
Okay. So what's going on here? So first thing I came across was just in general, we know that anything can have side effects. So anything that has the potential to help also has the potential to harm.
Big time.
Abigail Schreier put this really eloquently in her book. She calls it the iatrogenic effect, that any medical intervention has the possibility of having negative side effects. So therapy has become a crutch for this young generation. I have friends that won't even make a decision, a life decision, without consulting their therapist. I've been on dates before. You feel bad for me because
I'm going to feel
liberal
bad.
New York.
Liberal New York. I saw it in the general's face.
When I'm sitting across from someone that says, "Oh, I talked to my therapist about you today," and it's like,
"Oh God, really?"
Is that when you make a quick exit to the
powder that's where
room?
the text the girlfriends SOS, SOS.
Yeah. There's an app where you can just hit a button and your friend goes, "Your dog's dead," and you're like, "What?" You just get the hell out of the restaurant.
Oh, I'm great with the theatrics.
No, because if you say that, then they'll go, well, let me put you in touch with my therapist. He'll help you grieve the dog's death.
Vicious circle.
Help you cope with the trauma.
It's become a real crutch. Oh, and then you have, again, this generation that brags about being with their therapist for 7, 8, 9 years. Jeez. Why have we not all stopped to ask, is it working then? If
you're still...
And we're talking about actual... celebrities, people in Hollywood. We're talking about athletes. I know major athletes that are, in their 20s, considered very successful, and they talk about being with their therapist for 10 years. Jeez. So how is that normal?
Let me ask this question though, and how much of that for the youth, I could see you know, I mean, especially with the thing that we talked about with COVID, but, you know, social media, friends, they're distancing
100%.
everybody. I think that affects hundreds big time. I don't see the problem with seeing the therapist, but I think you're right at a point where, do they have any friends or family? Because is a major cause of it that people aren't talking to?
Yes.
Like if I have a problem, I can reach out to a friend. I could talk to Connor. Like I get it. It's not as easy as it seems, but like Kelly's one of my very, very good friends, like one of my best friends. If I have a problem, I go and I talk to her and we hash it out. She's good with secrets. She doesn't tell anybody.
Benny, that doesn't happen anymore.
Like and why? Yeah, my
huge-
question to you is why do you think it's such a disconnect of human connection? What the hell is
So
going
there's
on?
a lot that goes into this. It's multifaceted, but one of the factors is we feel like we can't be vulnerable with our friends. It's a huge percentage of Gen Zers, and again, a large extent of the millennial generation, that feels like their close friends, they actually can't be vulnerable with. And social media, of course, has a role in that.
Oh, big time.
We all feel like we have to present our best selves all the time. It's always a highlight reel that we're presenting. So we have less people to talk to. We have less people to talk to than previous generations. We have less friends. There's this element of feeling extra lonely. So we're so isolated, this extra level of loneliness, and we don't feel like we actually have people that we can open up to. And these are, again, people that these generations or these young people consider their close friends. So we're constantly also on these dating apps. We're not looking for meaningful connections anymore. Our entire society is based off of feeling lonely. I mean, there's no way to really escape it.
I'm not on any of these apps. I'm proud to say this, guys. I mean, I'm single, but never been on an app. Never been on one dating app ever.
It's not a good time.
General, you don't even know. General's like, what the
You
hell
don't wanna
been
know.
talking about? But General, just before she continues, what do you feel is the disconnect? Why are, especially the youth, and now it's spreading to the older generations? Why such a disconnect, and why are everybody so sad and depressed and on drugs, and like what have you seen change over the years?
Well, you know, I spent the first 30 some years of my life in the military, where you assimilate
Right.
people from all across the country. And that assimilation forces a lot of the things that you're talking about, where you take different walks of life, you know, educated, poorly educated, come together, high income, low income, come together, and you work it out. You learn about other differences. And here, I think that's really amazing what you're talking about, where social media keeps us inside our phone.
Yeah.
And we're very hesitant, at least this generation is, to get out and
Connect in real life.
and connect
Yeah.
and have a conversation. And you know, who's that person everybody's supposed to listen? Brene Brown, about embracing your vulnerability and all of that. Yeah. So the
Embracing
TED
your
Talk.
vulnerability.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you know, having friends that you can talk to and just kind of let your hair down with, go to a bar and hang out and
Talk to
have a
people,
drink
connect,
and all
yeah.
of that. We're not doing that as a society anymore. And I think there's a progressive left piece of this where their whole goal is to divide us. You think of all the subdivisions that are being created, whether it's different genders or different races or different religions, and they're pitting us against each other. And there's a lot of hate today in the country, particularly coming from that progressive left that tries to divide because that's how they stay in power. And so I think that's infiltrated it a little bit. So you had the medical procedure, not medical procedure. You had the Trump, not Trump. You had, so there's so many binary. Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Which further exacerbates the feeling
Exactly.
of
That-
loneliness and that you don't belong anywhere.
Right.
And I have to be careful because I am part of this generation. But one of the big factors in my research was this loss of resilience. It is huge. We don't have that anymore. And this is, okay, so it's
That's
coming.
a great word,
Yeah.
resilience.
Resilience is
Loss
offensive.
of resilience. When you talk about the traditional markers of happiness, the objective markers of happiness, are you holding down steady jobs? Are you in a healthy relationship? Are you striving to have a family? By percentages here, looking at these numbers, no. The Gen Z generation is not hitting any of these markers. Forget wanting to start a family. I mean, they can't even own a house plan or whatever.
Yeah.
They're not holding down steady jobs. And no one's in a damn happy relationship anymore. No, this generation is not dating.
As if it's by design. Because,
Yes.
And how many more elites have to openly come out? Who was that? Besides Bill Gates and all them, it's depopulation 1,000%. You know, the more they push this LGBTQ, because think about it, every single letter is technically gay. They're not having children. Okay?
Yep.
You keep pushing that shit on people. The stats that you're talking about, it's more and more I hear it's no kids, stay away, stay on your phone, don't reproduce, eat bugs, do this. It's so in your face. It's like at a point, and you, by the way, everything that you're saying, I'm seeing it. Like I'm seeing it that people don't want it. Like it's cool now to be, 55 and like what was her name? Chelsea Handler. She's like drinking vodka and she's like, the hell with kids. You're lonely. I can see it in your eye. I'm 45, mind you.
Yeah.
I'm actively trying. Like I'm late in the game, but like when I hear people like Rob or the general, you guys talk about your kids, I see your eyes light up and I'm like, that's what I want. But I do see 100% what you're talking about. People look at that like yesterday at the show. Somebody's like, so I heard you're having kids or something like that. And he was like, why? Look at what you're doing. You have no responsibility. I go, no, that's the problem. I want the responsibility.
Yeah.
I want some kid running around here that I have to yell at. So yeah, please continue.
Yeah, okay, so those objective markers of happiness, we're just not meeting them. So the loss of resilience, where is this coming from? Gentle parenting across the board was what I found. And where did we learn this? Parents were taught that the traditional way of raising kids was, I mean, honestly, how I was raised, a little spank here and
I
there.
love that you said that. Yes.
That was wrong, though. I mean, I actually had therapists tell me that my parents, your dad was tremendously abusive. And I was like, Thankfully, this was when I was already an adult, so I was able to say, you know what? No, I actually don't think that's true. Like, my dad was not abusive. He was, many other things, but no, I don't think he was abusive. But you tell a kid that, and now they go home like, yeah, my dad, I'm running away from home.
I'm going to
You're
report him.
dividing the family. Again, this is all by design. So gentle parenting, emotional regulation. What is the side effects of all of this? Loss of coping skills, the inability to problem solve, loss of direction. These kids have no grit anymore. My friends can't even call a doctor's office and make an appointment for themselves.
What?
I mean,
what the hell is going on?
Mommy does it. And I'm 28 years old. I'm talking like this age and even older. I know wonderful men in their 40s. I mean, athletes,
you just met
Hollywood.
me. You just met me, but
top of the list. But these guys are so successful. They're good looking. They are financially well off. And these men, a lot of them live in New York. And I've really started to notice this the past year being single in New York. Oh my God, why are none of these, they've never been married. They've never even been married. It's not marriage and divorce. So a lot of this, they've been coddled. They have this perception of relationships. They're so scared. There's this labeling also. So when you go to see a therapist and you're labeled with one of these disorders, it almost paralyzes you, right? You're told you have anxiety. Oh, nope, can't go on this date, can't do this, can't put myself out there. I have anxiety.
Yeah, take this pill too.
Yes. It becomes crippling. Schreier touches this in her new book. She has a study that compares burn victims, first responder, breast cancer survivors, amazing people who attended therapy. And there was a control group, of course, and then those that did not attend therapy. And the results were startling. So those that actually attended therapy, they emerged sadder and with more symptoms of depression and anxiety than the group that did not.
Isn't that weird?
It's weird, but when you really think about it, and I'm actually someone that's been thrown in therapy, I've been through a lot in my life. That's we'll have another show on that.
Yeah,
but
neither here nor there.
Another therapy session for Caitlin. But I have never personally found therapy to be helpful. I'm not the person that wants to sit there and play victim. Another thing we're seeing in this, not just this generation, but this narrative and across the country now, everyone's a victim. And I refuse to be a victim of anything I've been through in life. And I found that therapy was almost encouraging that. You've been through this, your parents divorced, let's talk about it. Let's talk. Like, no, I don't really want to sit there and talk about it. Yeah. And this study is a great example. You're constantly talking about your time in the military. You're constantly talking about surviving breast cancer, going over those days in radiation. What did you feel? What did you feel then? why would you want to sit there and continue to talk about it? So it's very startling and surprising, but it almost makes a little sense. Okay, so then we go into this generation and their feelings, right? This generation believes that their feelings are truly a guide to right and wrong here. Yeah. So you go into work now. Gen Zers go into work. Their boss hurts their feelings. Now they actually have a vendetta against their boss. They feel because their feelings were now hurt, I have to now get this person fired. They feel like their feelings are a guide to right and wrong, and this culture has crippled them because of that. They need a mental health day for every problem. Whatever happened to being just a little worried about something, right? I'm a little worried. No, now you have anxiety. I'm a little sad. What if I'm sad 3 days in a row? That's not allowed now. I'm apparently depressed now.
I've been sad for a week.
Vinny, you're depressed.
I need some pills, Kelly. Kelly, get some pills now.
You need to be part of the Lexaho. Have you guys seen these TikTok groups? There's literally TikTok groups of women talking about Lexahos. Like it's part of like
what is this one, Kelly? What video is this?
Oh yeah, we have to play this. This is a really good example.
What is this?
Play it, Kelly.
Wait, what? Can you set it up first? What is this?
Okay, so it basically is talking about a good example, just illustrating in a humorous way about how this Gen Z generation has therapy and what comes out of it. You'll see.
Okay, go ahead.
So how have the vibes been lately? Low key? Off. Go off, King. I just feel like life's been mad cringe lately. Like instead of taking W's, I'm taking L's. And how's your Riz? Mid. No cap? On God.
I hate that I understand this.
It's giving...
I'm so glad I don't.
Depression.
Okay.
Dead ass?
See that
Dead
even
ass.
right there.
He said, "What's giving me depression?"
Facts.
Yeah. You can
That's
cut it,
facts.
Kelly.
No printer.
It's a silly but humorous way of saying. So I don't know if that's how a real therapy session goes. I'm honestly assuming it's something similar though. Like, oh, I'm feeling a little sad. I'm feeling a little down today. You're depressed. What drug can I prescribe you?
How much? Let me ask you a question. How much of this? And I'm pretty sure you're gonna have an opinion on this. How much of this? And you slightly touched on it. How much of it do you think? Because I think it was a generation, right? One after mine, where disciplining your children became taboo. I know you said, by the way, my dad never beat me, just a little spanking, because I think knowing the fact that there was a consequence.
Yeah.
Nowadays, these kids know, they're very smart. Because back in the day, you'd go to touch this and your parent would be like, don't. And you'd get too close and then you'd get a little.
I can tell you when, because I watched it happen in my own household. I'm 5 and 6 years older than my 2 younger brothers, and I really believe that the advent in the late 90s, mid 90s, it was Oprah, The View, daytime talk shows, Dr. Phil. That was the TikTok self-help therapy of that time.
Yeah.
My mother was a stay-at-home mother. The way that she raised me is very, very different than the way that she raised both of my brothers. More hands-on, more discipline with me, more watching Dr. Phil, reading these self-help books. And that, I think, has something to do with my mom having me at a younger age and my brothers at a more mature time as well. But I feel like in my generation, I watched a switch between me and my brothers, and I think it was due to the influence of the self-help books, the TV shows, the daytime programming that women, at that point, my mom was a stay-at-home mom. She stayed home and watched those TV shows during the day, then took those tips and used those tips on parenting in a real time with my brothers.
So what do you think, John?
Well, after I left the military, I was in education. I was the chief operating officer, DC Public Schools superintendent of the 15th largest system in the country.
Actively involved.
And I had 150,000 students in 170 schools in Raleigh, Wake County, North Carolina. And I had 24 high schools. I had 3 that were known for discipline problems. So I brought in JROTC, junior ROTC programs, and got them in there pretty quickly, put some drill sergeants in those schools. Those discipline problems dried up real quick.
Yeah.
Quick.
And, good
They're doing this in other countries, by the way.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
Right. And good role models. Wearing the uniform in the school make people pop up a little bit, and having some discipline, and it's infectious, and it works the other way. If you don't have that, it works in reverse. And I grew up in a household. My dad's the son of Italian immigrants that came over, and it was, you got the belt if you didn't do something right. And we were all in athletics. My dad was a high school football coach, and mom was the good cop, dad was the bad cop. They knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
And you get the belt, then mom would
I've
come
got the
in.
belt. I've got soap in the mouth. Okay.
But you notice this? The belt and everything, look at the generation that made, the generations. The moment it stopped, and no. And by the way, because like I said, the don't touch, kids went, oh, I'm not going to get hit? Well, you know, what else can I get away with? Hey, you know what, Dad? I'm a woman now. Okay, son. This is how it works. Okay, son, you're a woman. It just became zero discipline. I mean, the belts, I had it too. Even just a little, there's no fear. What were those 6 feared words? Wait till your father comes home.
Yeah.
That, let me explain something to you guys. Whatever I did, General,
Scary.
if my mom didn't have to touch me, Rob, if she said that, I'm like, oh, please.
To this
I'll
day,
do anything.
I'll do
to
it.
this day,
Whatever
when
you
I call
need.
my mom and she goes, let me get your father, I'm like, no, I'll talk to you, Mom. I don't need to talk to him.
Yeah, leave him there. So, yeah, Kelly, you have something in closing?
Yeah. Want to close this out? So there's so many factors that go into this. I like that you mentioned role models, General, because that's a huge one. Look at who we're looking up to. These TikTok influencers, shimmy. That's another point. The last one I want to end on is the resolve and resourcefulness of the previous generations. That was another big part of this research. Baby boomers, the generation before them, these are generations that went through world wars.
Yep.
And they were still pretty happy, right? Pretty happy, pretty successful people. And we've lost that. We've lost whatever they were doing in the previous generations, the grit, the resilience. We don't have that anymore. There was the conclusion of this, the call to action, because I like to end on that.
I love it.
It all goes back to the family home.
Yep.
We need to actually be starting families, healthy, happy families. Families need to start instilling some of this into their children. Buck up, toughen up, little whack here and there.
Yeah, I love that.
That's just my opinion, but it all starts back in the family unit, and we need to reinstill that in America.
I agree, and I think I'm telling you, and I don't want to be a Neanderthal, but that one day a year it should be like National Spank Your Kid's Ass Day, so that kid looks like, oh no, and you just have a list of all the shit that they've done, because now they're like, oh God, I better be good because that day is gonna come. Just a little bit more discipline and hands-on, and you nailed it. The parents are, I know everybody's on their phone, everybody's doing their thing.
Yeah.
And then the kids now, you know how many kids I see just in supermarkets and everything? The parents are doing their own thing, and the kid is just, they try to take a phone away or an iPad away from a kid, see what happens to him. See what happens to that kid. They have no idea what to do. It's the babysitter.
That's the other thing, Vinny. They have this level of escapism that previous generations also didn't have.
Yeah.
They're escaping from all their problems, running away, hiding from them, buried in their cell phones. Netflix, Hulu, they have hours worth of television to watch. Previous generations didn't have that.
We had to play. Yeah, we had to play.
Pat has said something about the way that he raises his children, and that they have to earn their tablet time, right? Like they have to read a certain amount of books before they get the tablet. I've instilled that in my own home.
Is it
where
great?
it's, like for my 14-year-old, it's okay, you can read or you can do some chores, but then if you do this, and this, you can have 30 minutes on the tablet, but it's 30 minutes
I love
only.
it. And you stay on them.
Because you know what I catch him doing? I've caught him doing this a few times. I'll tell him to go do a chore, and then I'll walk over and I'm not paying attention, and he's in the doom scroll.
Yeah,
where he's just scrolling. I go, no, you're supposed to be cleaning the car, and you're doom scrolling. So you just have to, I think it's active parenting can help combat that.
Yeah. Okay.